My name is Vincent Rotolo from Good Pie, and you're listening to the Pursue Vegas podcast.
And the idea of Pursue Vegas was to really highlight the local people that really make Vegas, Vegas.
I love that aspect of how these visionaries are actually bringing people together.
When we hit record, our responsibility is to connect the people of our city so we can show the world who we really are. All right, welcome back to the Pursue Vegas podcast. I'm your host, Dave Berlin.
And I'm your co-host, Hani Nguyen.
And should we tell them?
Choose a word, any word.
I am pizzally excited.
This guy is notorious.
Don't tell him. Don't tell him.
Yeah, don't tell him.
No, don't
Don't
tell
tell
him.
him. No, every time I say I'm so excited or we're ridiculously excited, today I am pizzally excited about today's guest, Mr. Vincent Rotolo. I've been to your store.
Yeah.
And I went way before I ever met you. And then as my world has changed around the world of pizza and restaurants and some of the stuff that I'm into, we've crossed paths a lot more in the last year or so.
Yeah.
I'm so excited to have you on, not just because you have some of the best pizza in the city of Las Vegas.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wow. Thank you.
And I mean that, and I will fight you in front of your children in the parking lot if you disagree. No, not really. Not really.
Have you eaten today?
Yeah, I have not had any Red Bull. No, but I mean this. Like, there's something that grabbed me when we had a conversation, and we're going to talk about a lot of stuff today.
Okay.
But when you told me that there are people that work for your team that have the tattoo of Good Pie on their body, there's a company culture thing, whether like it's intentional, no matter what. That's a bold thing that I've worked with multiple organizations across multiple industries. I moved here because of the work that Tony Hsieh was doing to change the world in downtown Las Vegas.
Yeah, rest in peace, Tony Hsieh.
And I have not seen anything like that. So that was one of the things that I was very excited about. It just happens to be that you have incredible pizza too. But we're going to talk about so many things. Can you please tell us about you? Who are you? What are you excited about? And what's going on in your world, Vincent?
Yeah, that's. Well, thanks for having me. I'm flattered by your kind words. It's really, it's nice when someone gets what you're doing, not just in the food, but like in the culture we're trying to build, and also the contributions we're trying to make to the community that we're in. Tony, as you mentioned, was a big part of what initially drew me downtown. I came to Las Vegas in December 2011, and at that time, things were just getting started downtown, where the downtown project was really becoming just more recognized for the changes they were seeking to make. And I was intrigued by that because I'm a city guy. Yeah. At the end of the day, I'm an urban guy. I grew up, parallel parking and homeless people, then I'm comfortable. So right away downtown, I was good down there, And so I grew up in Brooklyn, but I also lived in Lower Manhattan. My first job in pizza was in 1986. I started working at the original Brick Oven John's of Bleecker Street. I was in middle school. My brother was working there. My father was friends with the owner, and my family was connected to that iconic pizzeria because we had an apartment in the building upstairs that was like this rent control apartment that was in the family for years, where you just don't let those things go in New York. So at one point or another, everybody lived in an apartment. Yeah. And going to see my dad on the weekends and growing up eating John's Pizza on Friday nights was a ritual and a fond memory of my youth. And so then working there at a really young age, it kind of introduced me to the world of artisan pizza, and it just like a lifelong passion kind of just ignited in those moments of adolescence, and then you move away from it, because I think when you fall in love with something and you don't really know you're in love with it, you move away from it and you go into other areas of life, and life journey takes you into whatever direction you're going into. And then, I moved to Las Vegas in 2011, in December 2011, and my father was sick. And, so I moved here. I'll never forget the date because it was December 1st. And I remember I just got my first iPad at that time. And I'm on the plane, and there's the first plane I ever was on with Wi-Fi. So remember the days of planes with no Wi-Fi? I was what are you doing on the plane? You had to deal with their things. And I remember looking at, so where am I going to eat? Like, what am I? That was the first thing I thought of. Like leaving New York, you know, there's so many, like eating and going out to eat with me, my friends was always a big deal. Being the foodie culture, and so I remembered popping up the iPad. I just at that time was looking at Eater.com was your source of like of food news, and I remember reading that Dom DeMarco's of DeFara was opening that day. And I'm like, wait, they have a DeFara in Vegas. Like, that's crazy. And it's opening the day I'm moving there. So I felt like
it's a sign.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they knew, I was like, they know I'm coming.
Yeah, they're like, it's for me. This is for me.
They know I'm here. Somebody recognized that I'm coming to Vegas, and they brought food here for me. So I literally, like, my dad was living in Summerlin. I got off the plane. Dad picked me up, went to his house, dropped my bags, and spent like maybe 5 minutes with my family, and went right to DeFara, went right to Dom DeMarco. And I literally walked in there and met Albert Scalliot, who's the proprietor. And I literally was like, hey, I just moved here from New York today. I know everything about pizza, and I'm going to tell you everything that is not authentic of your pizza. Like, literally, I'm going to tell you everything you're doing wrong. And so Albert was the best. He was so gracious. And I remember we sat at the bar, and we talked the whole night. And I was the last guy to leave that place. So I closed it down on the first night of business. And we talked for what seemed like 20 minutes. And I looked at I was there for 7 hours.
Yeah, wow.
Just talking to Albert. And Albert's that kind of guy that has those stories. Yeah. He just lived like so many lives of just like, he's an amazing person. And so he was my first Vegas friend, also my first pizza contact. And that's kind of where things started for me in Vegas, just that first day.
I love it, man. And for people that are listening, there's two types of people in this world, I believe. There's people, and then there's pizza people. Right?
We're our own breed.
Yeah.
Dun, dun, dun.
But with
we're
that,
our own race.
but with that, there's this mechanism in us that, and sometimes it's good pie, no pun intended. Sometimes it's good pizza.
Yeah.
That attracts us, but it's those memories that you talk about. I remember I also moved here, right? I moved here from Oklahoma. I moved here much later. It was the fall of 2018. And a good friend of mine, mutual friend of ours, Mike Bausch, I had done a lot of stuff with Mike back in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Biggest fan of what he's created in the world of Andolini's and fine dining. And I remember I was kicking rocks. I was literally downtown. I was going through a divorce. I was kicking rocks downtown, and I was not in a good place. And Mike randomly called, and he was just checking in because that's good people, right?
Wow.
And he was like, how are you doing? I was like, yeah, I don't even know where to find good pizza. And he tells me, he goes, there's a spot, you'll have to look for it. And he mentioned Pizza Rock.
Yeah.
And I was literally standing across the street from Pizza Rock.
Wow.
And I didn't go in with the ego of like, because he just told me, he's like, Tony's somebody who taught me almost everything I know about the world of pizza. He's like, just go. And I went and I sat at the bar, just very unassuming. Food service ambiance. And I sat there just talking to the bartender, not about pizza, I just talked about life, and I felt like I belonged. And that was like one of the biggest steps forward for me in this community as well. And I know a lot of people come here with ambition. A lot of people come here like because they're running away from something, or they come here because they're running towards who they really are. And I only say this to say thanks for sharing your story because of what got you here. Like, you don't just leave a place like New York for no reason, like whatever it is, but like you immediately when you got here, like there's pizza waiting for you somewhere in this city, and it's not just pizza, it's a place where you belong.
Yeah, when I walked in and met Albert that first day, I felt like we were catching up and old friends who hadn't seen each other in a really long time. And he told me the whole story of how he met Dom, rest in peace, the great Dom DeMarco, and how he courted Dom over years to finally get the rights to get the deal done and bring that iconic pizza to Las Vegas. And he's a remarkable storyteller. He broke out pictures of Sinatra. He was like, "Hey, look at this." He showed me pictures from like the Sugar Ray Leonard Hagler fight in Vegas. He's like, "Look at this!" And these are not like on your phone. This is like, let me go to my office.
Pieces of paper.
Yeah, he
like
came out with the real pic
Yeah.
of him with like Sugar Ray Leonard and like telling me about these legendary fights and just some amazing Vegas history that he's experienced. And like I fell in love with the guy. And so, but I never really explained the tattoo thing. And so let me tell you about that.
Yeah.
Because it's, so, Good Pie just celebrated 7 years of being open. And every year, thank you. Yeah, February 9th, National Pizza Day 2018 is when we open the doors.
Oh man, we just missed the birthday.
Right. 7 years we just hit. And that's over 2 different locations. The first at Palm Plaza for a couple years. And then we graduated into a bigger space on Main Street. And we're blessed to have that. And so one of the things I do every year is I close the restaurant on 4th of July and we have a big staff party. And so, and I cook for the staff. And when we had 10 or 12 staff, it was fine. But now we have over 80 staff. So we go to Soul Belly Barbecue every year. And Soul Belly has an amazing burger.
Oh, yeah.
Bruce Kalman, incredible chef. By the way, he was just on Tournament of Champions. I saw Bruce last night on Food Network.
Very cool.
So if you're a fan of Bruce Kalman's, which you should be, or Soul Belly Barbecue, check him out on Tournament Champions on Food Network. He's insane. He's doing a great job. And he's one of the guys who represents Main Street, the Arts District, and all of Las Vegas and shines that national light on us. So shout out to Bruce.
Sounds like we might need to have him on the show.
Yeah, he's incredible. What a great guy. And so Bruce cooks for us now every 4th of July. And so this past 4th of July, we were there, and then the tequila gets going, and I don't really drink a lot, and like recently I've actually just kind of stopped drinking, just as a decision to just not want to take care of myself and more of a wellness choice. But on July 4th every year I do drink with the team because it's just our way of bonding with them. And so a couple of tequila shots in, one of the employees approached me and said, "Hey, we're all going to go get tattooed together to form this bond." And I was
love
like,
where this is going.
I'm like, oh, well, I hope I'm insured for that was the first thing I thought. I hope
you're
if something
insured
happens,
for that. Is
I
your
hope we're
first
okay.
thought?
Well, the business owner wants to protect themselves from any liabilities. I'm like, hey, we're technically not at work. This party's voluntary, right? Like, did we sign? Like, I thought, do we have to sign waivers or if something bad happens? And then I checked with our team and I'm like, all right, we're good. I literally called HR. I was like, hey, they're getting tattoos. Am I okay? And then, no,
Because it is a very
they're like
permanent
flipping through the
decision.
files.
I'm
They're
like,
like,
want to
we
make
don't
sure. No, literally, HR.
We don't
picks
have
up the phone.
SOPs for this. What's going on?
Yo, the HR literally picked up the phone July 4th. I have a great HR company. Shout out to, I don't want to mention who they are, but they're great. And I don't know if they want to get plugged or not. So, but HR company's awesome and took my call and was like, yes, you're good. Don't worry. It's voluntary. And so then after that, I was like, guys, this is awesome. Like, they were like, actually, we want you to do it with us. And I'm like, well, I'm not a tattoo guy. I have no tattoos. I have 0 tattoos. Like, I'm not going to get like a drunken tequila-driven tattoo with a bunch of things and put a logo on my whatever. Like, I'm not doing that. Yeah. And so the GM came over to me and said, listen, we have a whole group of people that wants to get tattooed, but they're only going to do it if you do it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, how many people? And they're like, we got 12. I'm like, you have 12 people? Now, at that time, we had 30 employees.
Yeah.
So I'm like, this is almost half the entire team.
Wow.
So, and I would be 13 if I did it. So I thought, you know what? At first, I had a lot of different feelings and a lot of different, I was scared because I don't like needles. Yeah. And then I was like also proud of like the fact that they would actually want to do that. And then I thought, am I starting a cult? Like, is this weird? I started like telling myself all these different stories about like what this means. And then we had a couple more shots. And those stories started to like, I said, hey guys, let me think about this. And then finally I was like, all right, if all you guys are gonna do, let's get a couple more. So we ended up recruiting 2 or 3 more people. And then Ivana, who like was the catalyst of all this, who's like one of our just, social butterfly staff members who like rounds everybody up and is just wonderful, wonderful human. And so she said, okay, we have 15 people. That's half the staff. Yeah. And there was almost everybody who was there. And so we went around the corner, we found a spot, and we all got the good pie tattoo. And I got mine over here. They picked the spot because I give everyone high fives.
Yeah, wow.
Like I'm a high five guy. When I come in the restaurant, I'm high fiving the team, giving everybody like, so we got this. So when I high five them, they can see the halo with the wings and the slice. And so that happened. And then, and now I think this year we talked about it. We're going to go get it colored in.
Cool.
And have this thing. But it's a special moment for me and a great memory. Yeah. And also I think like that team there's special people on our team.
Yeah.
Like I love that team, and there's nothing I would change about it. And I think as a business owner, you're always evaluating your team, seeing how you could make things better, or like you tend to put employees in categories, like who is potential leader, or who's a leader, or who is an influential person that's going to make people around them better, and who's that person that could potentially be bringing people down. And you know, I learned from a few different people, but Michael Chernow, who is just an amazing guy, like I've known my whole life. He's one of the only mentors in my life he's like 10 years younger than me. And I've always had older, wiser mentors, but Michael was a mentor as a younger guy.
Wow.
And
Says a lot.
yeah, he opened the meatball shop and in 2009 with Daniel Holtzman, and then opened Seymour's, which was an amazing seafood concept, sold that, and now has a wellness company called Creatures of Habit, and has this protein-based oatmeal that is called Meal One. It's just this meal to start your day. And he basically reinvented himself as like this wellness, fitness, like guru. And he just taught me like very early on in my career, like, you know, treat your team like gold.
Yeah.
You know, just be good to that. You be good to your team. Yeah. And when working for him in the culture, like at the meatball shop, I was a manager on his team. And seeing how much the staff like truly like cared for him and loved him, like most owners in the restaurant business are like feared and not loved. And Michael was loved, and he treated people like gold. And he was, you know, like, hey man, have a story, hire great publicists to tell that story, and treat your team like gold. Like those were the things that I learned from him, and he kept preaching those things over and over. And so I just have this very like deep need to want to make the team happy. And like I treat them as good as I can, better than I was ever treated as an employee coming up. I worked every job in this industry. I was abused a lot. I was yelled at. Stuff were thrown at me in the kitchen. I grew up in a kitchen culture where chefs were throwing stuff at you and berating you. And I remember I worked at this fine dining restaurant, and one day I went into work and my hair on my side of my thing was like touching my ear. And my GM grabbed that piece of hair and pulled it and yanked it out. And it hurt so much. And I'm like, I was caught up in that. Like, he's like, he cursed me out, like in front of the other team members. And like the emotional distress I was in, let alone the physical pain of like someone pulling your hair out. Yeah. It hurt. I'm like, that's the kind of environment I grew up in. Yeah. And I always thought, not only do I never want to be a part of something like that culturally as an employee, but if I was ever in a position to lead a team or own my own company, I would do things to try to heal that and make that right. You know, so that's part of it.
Yeah.
That tattoo alone says a lot about the quality of life that you allow yourself to have and the team. It's a funny story. I mean, any tequila-driven tattoo story could have gone really bad. But I think the idea behind it, and like, I want to lean into like the story behind the name. Yeah. Because for me, like, words matter. And for you to choose such simple words that it's just two words that actually has a lot of meaning behind it. Like, can we touch a little bit more on that?
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to... I ran the gamut of working my way up through the industry. I started at Bellagio. I worked at Churco. I worked there for several years. Churco closed. I went to 800 Degrees Pizza at Monte Carlo with Anthony Caron. I was the GM there. And then I was brought on to help open Flour and Barley at the Link as the manager. And then I left Flour and Barley for a GM position. And then they contacted me, Hugo Moreno, who's an amazing operator, and I learned a lot from him. At the time, it was Block 16 Hospitality, who was owned and operated Flour and Barley. He brought me back to Flour and Barley as the general manager, and then I ran that, and then I left there and was the director of operations for Dom DeMarco's. I reunited with my first friend, Albert Scalliot, and they opened a location at Caesars. Yeah. De Fara at Caesar's Palace, and then they had the Summerlin location. So I was kind of overseeing both of those locations as a director of operations, and then it just got to the point where I couldn't go any further as an employee. Yeah. And even though I loved working for Albert, like the things I wanted to do, like I had an ownership mentality at that point, and I was still, even though I was an operations director and still like kind of an executive and had a 6-figure salary and all those things that you dream about wanting in a career, like I was unfulfilled. I was still happy, but I was unfulfilled. I remember my mom passed, and we went to bury my mom, and then when I came back, sat down with Albert and had a heart to heart because I'm like, life's too fucking short, man. Yeah. You know what I mean? When you bury your parents, you're like, okay, we're all gonna be in a box. Like that's the end, you know. And yeah, spiritually, we may move on somewhere else, but like physically, we're in a box somewhere. Like we're all things are gonna end. Like you gotta stop, you know. And I realized fear was holding me back. I was afraid of failure. I was afraid of success. I was afraid of just like going out on my own and taking that big risk. Like fear was like paralyzing me. And I spoke to a couple friends of mine, but I remember I talked to Paulie G, who I met in New York when he opened Paulie G's. I was there on the first night. I was living in Brooklyn. I went, Paulie G shared his story with me. And he told me the walls of fear are paper thin and it's only good things on the other side. You got to poke your finger through, then stick your head in and just go. And I'm like, if Paulie can do this with no restaurant experience, and I have 20 years of restaurant experience, I worked every job you can work in a restaurant. Like, you know, my first job in the restaurant business was called 650. And in fact, the name was 650 Slime. Shout out to everybody at 12 East 22nd Street, Rascals in 1989. 650 Slime. But that place paid you $6.50 an hour. This was after John's Pizza, which I was kind of a busser there, or like an assistant busser. But John's Pizza was like my dad's friends with the owner, give my son a job thing, and I was around. But I only worked there 2 days a week. Like when I worked at Rascals, 650 Slime was like they pay you $6.50 an hour. You work a 10-hour shift, and you do the dirtiest jobs of like cleaning vomit and doing the horrible things no one wants to do, or collecting empty beer bottles from the dance floor, or wherever it was. It was kind of like a restaurant that turned into a nightclub. So I worked my way up, literally, like shoveling shit, like literally. Yeah. And so, you know, becoming like that level and still not feeling fulfilled, it's like, at what point are you going to be happy? Like you keep telling yourself, like, if I do this, I'll be happy. If I do this, I'll do that. If I make this much money, I'll be able to do that. Or you keep delaying your happiness for different accomplishments that you're supposed to go after, or different goals to achieve. And the fact is that I learned that I'm born to serve others. Yeah. And when I'm in the service of others, taking care of other people, that's really what makes me happy. And it doesn't mean like I have to make a lot of money or have a title or have a successful business. I just have to be taking care of people in a way that they're feeling and receiving that as. And it took me a while to figure that out. Yeah. So I'm like, now I know this. How can I take care of the most people? Yeah. I can really build an amazing team, take care of them, and then empower them to take care of so many others. Like this past weekend on Saturday, between both restaurants, we had 1,800 covers. Wow. I'm never going to be able to touch 1,800 people. And maybe not all of them had a great experience, but 99.9% of those 1,800 people had an amazing experience through the 80 employees that we have now. Yeah. And I'm touching those employees and they're touching all those guests, and I'm taking care of people through others, and that's what really fulfills me with like a sense of like satisfaction and gratitude. And now I want to grow that to 20,000 people. Yeah. You know what I mean? In a weekend, in a day. Like you need a lot more restaurants to do that, you know? And so, but I figured that out. So it wasn't like world pizza domination. It wasn't like follow Tony's path or follow this path or that path. It was like my path is just taking care of people through feeding them, through giving them an amazing pizza experience. Yeah. And you can only do that through other people because you're limited in what you could do just on your own. Yeah. And that's the real valuable lesson that I've learned. When my mom passed and I made the decision to leave Dom DeMarco's, I learned that. Yeah. And then left and started driving. This was like 2016. And I was driving Uber. That's what I did. I wrote business plans all day, drove Uber all night. And I was literally pitching passengers. Yeah. I would be in the car driving. Hey, blah, blah, blah. What's your favorite pizza in town? And just get into a pitch right there. Yeah. Get into, hey, I'm working on a pizzeria, blah, blah, blah. And I was dreaming about getting funded, but the truth of the matter is that I got really good at pitching. I never got funding from an Uber passenger. I just got like, wait, is this guy about to ask me for money? Like, wait, like, is this, because especially if I picked up a guy at a nice house, like if I roll up into a nice house in Summerlin and take you to the airport, I'm hitting you up. Yeah.
Shark Tank on wheels, baby.
Straight up. Shark Tank on wheels for sure.
Well, it's funny because right now, I mean, there's a place where, I mean, that's happened. Like there's so many people that that's a path that they can take in this town.
Yeah.
And not only can they make decent money, like just staying mobile and on the grind, but also just have those connections and those conversations. And while you didn't get money from any of those, like you probably built a following where people are like, man, when I come back, I'm going to try that. Or some people.
I wish I would know. There were people that were like, yes, I'm going to try this place. But at that time, I was just searching. I don't know if there's any Uber passengers. If there's any Uber passengers that are out there that were in my Uber that are now my customer, please email pizza@goodpie.com and I will buy you a free pizza.
I love that.
Yo, I want to know that because that would make me so like full circle moment for me.
Yeah.
But I did learn a lot by doing that because I learned about like the freedom of my time and just I needed to make a certain amount of money just to pay my bills. And I had a little bit of savings, but I was afraid of that dwindling down. And so Uber just paid my bills while I didn't deplete my savings. So I could figure out the next step, which was I remember Evil Pie was getting started and they were looking for some help. And my brother was working with that company in a different role. And I was able to get a meeting with them. I'll never forget, I was working on a business plan called New Brooklyn Pizza for an American artisan style pizza. And I thought, I'll meet with these guys. It was the last meeting of the week on Friday at like 5:10. We'll squeeze it in. Like literally, right? They said, I guess we'll talk to this guy. It's just, and then it was crazy because I became friends with John Arena through reaching out to him when I was a GM of Flour and Barley. We were struggling and fumbling over how to do a Sicilian, and I said, I heard John had the best Sicilian. I just called him up and said, hey, can you come help us? And he literally the next day came down and helped us out. And then we were friends ever since. Hal Ginsberg, a guy I met from Paulie G, gave me John Arena's phone number. Yeah. Biggest mistake of John's life, ever getting. John, you can blame Hal Ginsberg for our decade-long friendship and me calling you and bugging you all the time and just kind of learning all this stuff from you and hopefully not embarrassing you. But John's one of those guys who just goes out of his way to help people, and he was really a mentor to me and kind of, he would come to my house. We were doing these pizza things at my house where I would cook for random people and let them bring an ingredient and then try to do like a chop style competition against myself at that. It was called the Las Vegas Pizza Club, and people would come over, and John came over one night and he was like, what you're doing is offensive. And I was like, wow. I was like, John, kind of only the third time I met the guy. He was at my it was actually not even my house, my brother's backyard. I lived in an apartment, so I didn't have a yard, but my brother let me host pizza gatherings at his place, and I had the oven there. And he said, to guys like me and a bunch of other guys in this town, what you're doing is really rude, and actually it is offensive. And I'm like, what'd I do, man? Like, oh my God, I offended him, and I was really embarrassed. And I said, hey, what did I do? He said, you're in a town full of house painters, and here you are, Picasso, and you're not sharing it with anybody. I was like, oh. I died. Yeah. I literally died when he said that. But it was a moment for me where some great pizza guy, said I was
Picasso.
Yeah.
And that was it. And from that moment on, it's hard to explain, but whatever those things are that are holding you back, that was a moment we all just let go.
Thank you for sharing that, man. This isn't just in the world of pizza or in the world of restaurants. There's a certain amount of ego that we all carry, and sometimes we don't understand what that means until somebody puts that on us.
Yeah.
And there's different ways, because some people could just be like, you're an egomaniac. Not you, but anyone that does have one. But when somebody presents it in a way like that, it's that you aren't just good, you're great, but that greatness needs to be shared. It puts it into a totally different perspective than
I think so.
Than how we develop whatever that ego was that we were carrying before, right? Yeah. Whether it was beat into us or beat out of us, physically or emotionally, whatever makes us who we are, and especially for the greatest people that do create things, whether it be food or art or music, it comes from a place of pain It comes from a place of power. It comes from a place of beautiful memories too.
Yeah.
But sometimes that can shape us in a way that we hurt a lot of people around us and we might not even know it. And when I say hurt, we don't have to, it's not about I hurt this person. I held something from something that can truly make an entire community, and in this case specifically, the food community in Las Vegas universe, not Las Vegas, Nevada, not Las Vegas, America, Las Vegas, planet Earth, which is one of the most food-driven culture cities on this planet.
Right.
That's the responsibility to say, hey, like, let people in, and like, here's what I'm really grateful for, and it's a testament that you're here today, is that you heard that and you didn't resist.
It's his way, though, and if it wasn't for that moment, I don't think Good Pie would exist. You know, and John will probably argue, you were going to do that anyway. You were going to be that anyway. I just was along.
You needed the catalyst, because I think from what I heard is, you know, you had the cushy 6-figure job and that was your ceiling. And then for you to even admit that you were unfulfilled, because there's like a deeper sense of purpose within you that's like trying to come out, and you're like kind of imprisoned by this like comfort that you had around you.
Yeah.
And then I think that's where people negotiates with themselves. It's like, well, I'm kind of happy here and I can allocate my extra time to building my dream, but when realize you should be switching it the other way around. It's like go in on it at least 80% of the times and then keeping the 20% of safety.
Right.
Just,
I was 40 years old when that conversation happened. So that's kind of late in life to just start something new.
Yeah.
But, you know, I had a son at a young age and I needed to work to kind of provide for him. My son at that point was already, you know, an adult. And, you know, and so I thought, hey, I could really do this. And I could make those sacrifices, and I did. So I ended up going to the meeting at Evil Pie, and I went there convinced that I would pitch them on my idea, because I thought Evil Pie, who the fuck wants Evil Knievel pizza? That's a gimmick.
Yeah,
I thought it was Love Backwards when I first saw it. When I first moved here, I was like, is it Love Backwards? Am I?
It's just weird. It's like, we don't need another gimmicky pizzeria, right? That's what I thought. Like, fuck that. I know Vegas needs a theme and a gimmick and all that, but I'm not doing gimmicks. My pizza's going to be great. And I don't want, like, you know, them to, you know, downgrade or diminish what I'm trying to do. So I met with them, and they ended up convincing me, because they told me that they were trying to do a pizza from a time and a place, which was a New York street slice in the 1970s. And I thought, wow, no one ever asked me to create a pizza from a time and a place before and tell a story. And that weekend, so that was Friday, so I went home. That weekend I did research. Of course, I called John and said, hey, John, you know, what are the 1970s New York blah pizzas? And he was like, oh, they were using this, this, and this back then. And he literally gave me the, you know, Stanislav and, you know, whatever the tomato was, and the cheese and the flour that was the predominant. They call it the trifecta, or the I forget, the triple something. I don't know what it is. It was the Trinity, the Holy Trinity of pizza was this flour, this cheese, and this tomato. And if those companies are out there listening, you can sponsor the show, and then we'll name you on the next episode. But anyway, it was that flour, that tomato, that cheese, right? And so that was the Holy Trinity of pizza in the 70s at the time. So I started messing with that, and I was just dug deep into it, and I got just pulled in. And then I got hired as a consultant to create the pizza at Evil Pie. And that turned into me being the general manager, and I created the pizza, and I hired everybody and trained everybody, and I was there for like almost a year and kind of launched it. And then, you know, I got an opportunity to, a guy in Brooklyn called me and had a failing pizzeria and wanted to basically give me a space and a bunch of money, and backers from a deal that was in years earlier were like, hey, come back to Brooklyn and you belong here, and we want to give you this place, and we're going to give you 35% ownership of it. And I thought, 35% ownership, amazing. And I'm putting in no money. I'm going back to New York, you know, and so I thought everything that brought me to Vegas was like, I served my time in Vegas, literally.
It was your boot camp.
I was done, and I'm going back to Brooklyn. And I met with these guys. I said, hey, I'm going back, and I got this deal, and here's what it is. And and they were like, no, stay here. We're going to make you a partner. And so they dragged that out, and ultimately the deal they offered to me months later, by the time they got contracts out, was not in my, was just really just, it they never had intentions of really making things, you know. I love those guys for giving me the opportunity I got, but also the fact is that wasn't a fair deal. And so I had to say no. And then that just led to me feeling a sense of betrayal and me feeling a sense of that I missed a real opportunity. And I was really motivated then. I was like, oh yeah, I missed this great opportunity, and you dangled this carrot and you made me this promise. And that happens in business. I know a lot of guys, especially in the pizza world, you know, the money guys take advantage of the talent in every industry. And so you got to figure out where you are in that equation and how you're, you know, I had built myself up into, more people knew who I was at that point because of Evil Pie, because I did get, I was the face of that place, and I did get a tremendous amount of recognition. And I'm grateful for that, because I knew once I was, like, I got invited to that party based on that experience there, and I knew I was going to stay.
Yeah.
I knew there was no going back. And so I then was in Brooklyn. I went back to Brooklyn. I left Evil Pie and was, you know, soul searching. And I went back to Brooklyn. I was with Scott Wiener, and we went to the Brooklyn Museum, and there was this panel on pizzeria history, and they had like, you know, the DeFara family was there, and Mark from Lucali was there, and different people were there. And I remember they were talking about branding in pizza. And Mark Iacono from Lucale was there, and I was in the audience watching, and I was checking everything out, and I was absorbing everything. I was like dreaming the pizza dream. And people said, hey, Mark, what's your brand standard or whatever? And he was like, brand standard? My brand standard, that I shut the fuck up and I make a good pie. And 5 minutes later, from my phone, I bought the URL goodpie.com.
Love it.
And it was available for $250. I was like, that's it. That's my
$250 you ever spent.
Because I talk so much, people always tell me to shut up. So I'm like, when Mark was like, I shut the fuck up and I make a good pie. I let the pizza speak for itself. And I'm like, that's what I want to do.
Wow.
And it made sense, because I was leaving Evil Pie. I was like, now I'll be Good Pie.
Yeah.
And that was it. And I found a space and signed a lease and raised money. And that's a whole nother story of how I raised the money and how I signed the lease. It's a whole crazy. That's a whole crazy Nino Caniglio.
It's not a 00. Like you didn't put like 00, like money down on 00 at the win and spin roulette, did you?
It's even more of a gamble than that. It's crazy. I can't even. That's a whole different segment. You're gonna have to invite me back.
We're definitely inviting you back.
That's the part 2 where
next
we
time we're
only
gonna do
talk
just a
about
buffet
that.
with
How
pizza.
you got the money for the first Good Pie location is an insane story.
File that away, Greg. File that away.
I'll tell you the short version of it. I got cast on Chopped while I was at Evil Pie. And they came to my house and they shot the intro of me representing Evil Pie. And I contacted Evil Pie, and after I left, and I was like, hey, this is already shot. I want to do this. They were like, no, we don't want you representing us. I'm like, wait, you don't want me to go do this? I signed a contract. They were like, nope, you're not with us anymore, and whatever. So I called the producer, and I was like, hey, I'm not with Evil Pie anymore, but I have Good Pie. They were like, yeah, is it open? I'm like, no. And they were like, well, we don't shoot contestants representing restaurants that don't have restaurants that are not open yet. It's going to cost us like $20,000 to reshoot your thing anyway. Like, we don't even. And I found out through some friends that she was going to be at a party in New York.
Whoa.
I flew to New York, ambushed her at the party. After I begged my friend Roberto Caparuccio to allow me to use his restaurant to shoot the segment on a day where they were already going to be going around shooting. So I approached her. Thank you for saving my life. And so Beth Schiff was able to reshoot my intro. So when you look at Chopped and you see the intros, I'm at Roberto Caparuccio's restaurant because Good Pie didn't exist. And I'm representing Good Pie. So that's the ultimate speak it into existence.
Man.
Love
Good
it.
Pie wasn't even funded. And I was representing it on the Food Network.
Yeah.
Just because I met Beth at this party. I said, listen, I'm in New York. You got a crew going around. We could do it here. The party was at that restaurant. And the Caputo guys and Orlando Foods guys, they were so supportive. And they kind of gave me information about that she would be there. And there was an event going on that was unrelated. So I showed up at the event, basically crashed the party, talked to her. Roberto allowed me to use his restaurant to shoot the intro, and it didn't cost them much money because they were out shooting anyway. And I told them I would do everything in one take. It would just be 10 minutes, come in quick. We shot it. They changed. So instead of them recasting an alternate, which they had a fourth person there ready to go, they allowed me to move forward with that. And so when we were doing it, it was John Arena was on that show, Giulio Adriani, Nino Caniglio, and me. And so John called us up on a cell phone party line and a group call and said, look, we got to tell the story of brotherhood and pizza. We love each other. We're helping each other. Whatever happens in this episode, we all need to agree now that we're going to split that 10 grand, 2,500 apiece.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. We agreed to that. And so Nino ended up winning. And then at that night, we had a little press event with all the contestants. And so they announced at that event that although we agreed to do that, everyone donated their share back to me to help me go open Good Pie. So the generosity of Nino, Giulio, and John gave me the money, and then I got some money from here and some money from there. But that was that $7,500 was the money that I used to put the down payment on sign the lease, and then I got the rest of the money.
Wow.
Dang, I don't know why I'm crying, but that hit me.
That's how Good Pie got started.
Wow.
And very few people really know that.
Yeah.
And
Talk about scrappy.
If I didn't get on the plane to go to New York and basically ambush Beth at that party and beg her to like reshoot that intro and basically not use the one that they shot already because the evil, and I showed her the emails from the Evil Pie guys.
Yeah.
I'm like, look what they're doing. Yeah. And she's like, that's not fair.
Yeah.
I got your back.
Yeah.
And so she made it happen.
Yeah.
And then the guy stepped up and got me the money. Even though I thought, okay, if I win this, I'm going to go sign this lease.
Yeah.
Because I needed the down payment. That's all I needed. And so I didn't win it, but sometimes
That's the power of community right
the brotherhood just backed me up on that.
Because if you gave up, like, there would be no Good Pie. If you never got your ass on that plane and just kind of like took your fate the way it was.
It all goes back to the moment where John told me, hey man, you got, and little things like people telling me things like Michael Ayub would tell me all the time, and Paulie G would tell me that Michael, gave me my first GM job back in 2007 in Brooklyn at a pizzeria, and Michael Ayub has Fornino, and I mean, he's incredibly talented. He's one of the unsung heroes of the New York pizza scene. He's like a guy who is one of the geniuses of pizza that don't really get as much accolades as he probably should because he's just an unassuming, gentle giant of a man. But he's incredible. But all those guys were cheering for me and rooting for me and telling me, hey man, you could do this. Because it's easy to believe you're going to fail.
Yeah.
It's harder to believe you're going to be successful. But when you have these huge, larger-than-life figures in this industry saying, you got this, kid, you believe them. Nino was there too, and everybody helped me.
Thank you for sharing that. I did not know that.
No one knows that.
And that now everyone should know that. But this is the thing, man. I thanks for sharing it because that is the reason or a reason that you've done what you've done with Good Pie. And I have to say this because the tattoo is a visible representation of what I knew. There's a deeper story to it, and there's layers like there is to everything else. But I can tell you, man, I've worked with restaurants all around the world. I've been a part of some of the most elite organizations on the planet, and only few places are willing to get a tattoo of the organization that they work for, like on their bodies. So United States Marine, right? One of the most tribal organizations on the planet. And like as many other military people get theirs too, but that's a very unique one. Then you look at Harley Davidson, stuff like that. People that are clients and people that work there too because they believe in that culture. It's what grabbed me, but now I want to talk about because that's just a physical result of what people can see. And that says a lot. What else are you doing in the community? Because I know it's a lot. And like I don't know that you would be doing that. It's not that you wouldn't be, but like if your story wasn't your story, now you have this uncanny responsibility to this community to build your team, and you're doing it in a lot of ways. So can you talk about some of the philanthropy, some of the work that you're doing with like things like Pizza Fest and stuff like that? Well,
Pizza Fest is great. But we'll get into that in a second. Before we get to Pizza Fest, I'll just talk about Core. Core's a group I work with. They have after-school programs for just challenged youth
Sure.
that come from challenging backgrounds, whether it's a single parent home or a financial situation, and they create programs for like middle school age kids that, that's the age where kids can kind of go either way. I've done some work with them where we go to the schools to their after school programs and we give just leadership talks. I share my story with them. We try to inspire them to follow, to figure out what they're passionate about and try to go after that. Also, there's a real big moment of like this summer we had our first core intern. So we had an internship that was paid by us and funded by us and one of the core students. So we had a group of core kids come in and we taught them how to make pizza, and it was a great pizza making kind of tutorial with them. And we go through this pizza team building program where they only get a piece of dough and they get put on random teams, and then there's a topic that we highlight with questions. And so we had 10 multiple choice questions that they're not aware of beforehand. And this was based on the curriculum that they had at core. And then they go through and work together with their groups of kids that they don't know and never met. And then they answer these questions to get points. And then they use those points to go shopping for toppings.
Oh, wow.
So mushrooms are 3 points, or pepperoni is 2, and then the kids can really have an opportunity to team build, to work together, to problem solve, to answer questions, and then utilize that to get the necessary, because they don't even have sauce. They just have dough. So they need to earn the right to get sauce or cheese or any other toppings through answering these questions and working together as a group. And then once they do that, and we do that format for corporate, any company. We've done hair salons, or we did one for Zappos. Cool. We did, we've done for groups up to 100 people where you're like highlighting the company culture or whatever topic you want to highlight in a fun, interactive way, and then they get to make pizza and eat it at the end. So I love Core. The Pizza Fest started in 2019. John Arena and I were driving back from the California Pizza Festival, and I was driving, and John and another gentleman were there, and we stopped at Bleecker at the Greek place there with the aliens, whatever, and Bleecker. The Man Greek we stopped at. And we're eating
with the aliens.
souvlaki, in Bleecker they got all the alien jerky. Right? You guys know. And so we stopped there, and I'm driving, and we're halfway back home from California, and we're reminiscing. I'm there eating like a gyro, and John's having his spanakopita. And he's like, we could do this in Las Vegas. And there's this thing that John does where when he says something, I feel obligated to go make it happen. So I went and made it happen. I got Tony involved, and I got Mike Backneen involved at the beginning, and we formed a little, alliance and a group, and we started doing these little events, and we did a pop-up. We were doing some First Fridays in the beginning with the Las Vegas Pizza Alliance. And then, I got the funding. I helped get Oven sponsor, and Greco is now the presenting sponsor. They write a huge check every year to make it possible. And shout out to Greco and Sons, and they're amazing. And we were able to get a producer, get a venue, get the participants, get sponsors, get an event planning team, get marketing. And then I don't do anything but call people on the phone and say, commit to this. Yeah. And then once they're committed, I send them over to Josh, and he organizes it. And, technically he owns the festival. I don't, but I'm like his right hand in trying to put things together. And I'm just like I've been called a lot of things on the festival, but the real thing is I'm probably the curator of the festival. Yeah. Because I want to be a participant above all else and cook alongside what I consider to be the best pizzerias in Las Vegas. And we just want to showcase our unity, our brotherhood, our together. We're like rooting for each other. Like Yukon Pizza just won the world title. They're defending it this year, Pizza Expo. Yep. I've known Alex White for years. I met him out in the desert when he was doing pizza pop-ups. And he's another guy who left a real job, but it was during the pandemic when there was a shutdown. So he was already doing pop-ups and weddings and things out of like a little mini pizza party oven. And then the pandemic happened and started cooking out of his house, and then got into, I actually introduced Alex to Jolene Menina when they were doing the Vegas Test Kitchen. Yeah. and she was looking for a pizza operator, and I just connected those dots.
Yep.
And then that led to him getting his brick and mortar, and I'm so proud of those guys.
Yeah.
And look at them now, world champions. They're doing great. You got to go support UConn. They've garnered so much support. And a lot of my customers that go there feel like they need to hide it. Like I was in UConn the other day and I saw a bunch of my customers in there and they're like hiding. Like, oh shit, Vince from Good Pie is going to see us at UConn. Like, it's like you catch somebody cheating on their... Like, oh my God, we're cheating on you. I'm like,
having an affair with this slice right now.
I'm like, by the way, I'm here too eating pizza.
Yeah.
Like, support UConn
You're like, it's
pizza.
okay.
Like, we love that. So the community really came together. And now, this year we had Mike Vacknine and Gina Marinelli in VIP, and James Trees does a great job. And, Mike Vacknine just got nominated for James Beard Award and all these amazing things in the pizza community as we continue to grow. And there's a lot of new places coming up all the time. And so we're just really proud of the fact that the Vegas Pizza Festival is not a for-charity organization. It's a for-profit festival, right? It's got to make some money for it to have longevity. But the sponsorship really makes that possible, that it could just sustain itself. Because these festivals cost 6 figures to produce. And you can't charge that, and you can't make it back on ticket sales alone. So between the sponsors and the ticket sales, and Josh stepping up from the industrial event space.
Yeah, cool space.
Josh Abelson, he stepped up and really took the financial risk to make this happen.
Yeah.
And now it's 6 years later. We missed a year or two in the middle of the pandemic and then came back bigger and better than ever. And so it'll be this November again.
Yeah.
And so I can't wait because it showcases the love that the pizza community has for one another, the support, the camaraderie, and really just how close we are. It really is a brotherhood and a sisterhood with women in pizza, with all of the growing components of this. Mike's Hot Honey is getting involved in a bigger role this year.
Nice.
It goes on and on and on. So that's really exciting, and I just can't wait. That's one of my favorite days of the whole year.
Yeah, I'm excited. I would love to figure out ways that we can collab on that because we've got stuff going on that week as well.
You do a podcast live from the festival.
Yeah, we can. We can. Yeah, we're set up for
While
that.
we're eating
Totally
pizza.
down.
We got a room. We'll just put you in one of the rooms on the side and just send all
Did you
the
say I
guests
can
come
eat
in.
pizza
all
on
the
air?
guests, but also,
Yeah, eat
that's
pizza,
another way
everybody
to
will bring. We'll do a tasting.
We can go with the sponsors and everybody. I mean, anything that we can do to help. Like that's the goal of what we've tried to create here is we want to be able to connect more people, and the only way that we can really show the world who Vegas really is by working together, right? There's a time to compete. There's a time to collaborate. But for us, part of the reason why the show originally began and what we evolved from is not everybody, I don't know if you use, maybe this is a bad example, I don't know if you use billboards, but the everyday man in Las Vegas doesn't always have $20,000 a month for a billboard.
Yeah, no billboard. I don't have it in my budget.
Word of mouth is so much better than that.
Yeah, but even something like this conversation is going to be captured and it can be available over and over and over again. And then people that are having their friends come in from out of town because we're not just talking to the people here in Las Vegas. There's 5,000 people that are listening to this in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Yeah. And when they come out here, they're probably going to end up a good pie, right?
I hope.
And it's just,
I hope it's good.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where that's what we want to do is we want to collaborate as much as possible. There's things that we're going to be doing leading up to it. You said something that I have to say this because it keeps coming up more and more since we've started this season of the show. You mentioned working with youth. A lot of people don't know this. When I got out of the Marine Corps, I was a drill instructor for at-risk youth for 7 years.
Sure.
7 years, 3,300 people came through my program and were touched by my sarcasm and ability to snap my fingers and yell into their effing soul.
Yeah.
And many of those people have changed their lives in a positive direction.
A little discipline goes a long way.
And that was one of the places that I felt the most alive. And there's been something that you said that I'm like, ooh, you guys working with, how can I help? I've got people that are speaking at schools. I've got people that are sponsoring other events and stuff like that. Yeah, I would love to connect because we've even had guests on the show like Marissa Hawkins. She owns Massage Envy, and she owns 10 of those, and she does a lot of philanthropic work around that same space too. But it just keeps coming up, and I'm like, there's ways that all this stuff is funneling to really make an impact.
I've been blessed. My business partners introduced me to one of their dear friends, Barbara Mulaski, who's amazing woman, just so kind. Barbara connected me with CORE. Cool. And she just reached out to me and said, hey, they're looking for, people to come speak. And when I go to CORE and I share, just my journey, I was an at-risk youth.
Yeah.
Right. I was an at-risk adult. Like,
Same here.
I was an at-risk 35-year-old. I'm still at risk. Like, literally, like, these kids are saving me. You want to talk about at-risk? Like, I'm an at-risk single dad right now. I'm an at-risk business owner.
my God.
I'm completely at risk, right? So those guys are saving me.
Yeah.
No, and I'm not kidding.
It's
Like,
true.
we're all,
No,
like,
it
in
is
one way
true.
or another, we're all at risk, right? Of, like, we just... It's crazy, man. On Valentine's Day night, one of our former employees was murdered. Her name's Hope, and she was a beautiful, beautiful girl. We still don't even know the full story. All we know is she got off work. She was working at Atomic Liquors bartending. She bartended and served for us. Although she's not working with us, she's a member of our family. And like any day, man, every day's a gift. You're not guaranteed anything. And right now, we're trying to figure out what happened or how we can help her family.
Yeah.
And how we can, like, she has a daughter. Yeah. Like, there's a little girl out there who does not have a mom today because somebody pulled out a gun and shot her while she was sitting in a car. And she's not the type of girl to get into any mistaken identity or it's an accident or I don't know I don't know anything other than she's a wonderful person.
Yeah.
And didn't deserve that, right? And so that's affecting my whole team right now.
Yeah.
There's we're grieving right now.
Yeah.
It's hard. But at the same time, you have to find ways to use that, to harness that energy into doing good things.
Yeah.
When a tragedy happens. And we're surrounded by sad stories every day. Yeah. And we want to turn those sad stories into positive results. Yeah. And that's my life. Yeah. I could have gone any way, but fortunately I had the right people around me that helped me to connect with the God-given talents that I have and give me the confidence to want to have enough courage to share that with the world. Yeah. And that's what we're doing. And I'm so blessed that I have that opportunity because every day's a gift. And I know it's a cliche, but it truly is.
No, it is. And I'd be remiss if we didn't talk about this because I've been to the downtown location multiple times. I have not made it to the new store yet. I'm anxious to do that. What's different about what
I've been
you've
to the
got
front
going
of your
on?
store.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. That was like the first location was basically captured in the first
Like right next to Remedies, right?
10 feet.
I think I went there too late.
Oh, you have
I went there
been.
too late.
Oh, you should have texted me. All right, we'll get you hooked up.
That's closer to me.
We feed Remedies a lot. The staff over there is eating good pizza.
Oh, awesome.
I think the main difference is, look, when you look at the Arts District, we helped to build that community. And when you look at Henderson, that community was already built. And it was already people in their world and in their habits and in their routines and in their pizza eating,
Paralysis.
Yes. No, they're habitual pizza eating. I eat here, I eat there, I eat there. But we have a database of over 30,000 email addresses and addresses or people that have ordered from us over the last 7 years. And over a third of those people are in Henderson zip codes.
Cool.
And so people were driving from Henderson to the Arts District to eat our pizza. And now the main thing we get is you came to us. Like, we don't have to drive 30 minutes and fight through traffic and then fight to park just to eat good pie anymore because, and then we'll eat. So I have customers that were driving from Henderson or from Summerlin and they'll come in and they'll eat and then they'll order pizza to go and like take it home so they don't have to make another trip back and like freeze it or whatever, or keep it. And so, it's like we brought it to them and I knew that's what we were doing and we're doing so good. We're really blessed. We're still new. It's 3.5 months old. And I think new restaurants are like when you have another child. Like I have 2 kids and 2 grandkids, and they're all different.
Yeah.
They all respond to different things. All of their cries mean something different. All of their needs and wants, their different sensitivities and different peculiarities that you got to just get to know them. And I think your restaurant, the first year is just listening to those babies' cries of a restaurant and understanding what they mean. And those cries come from your customers, your staff, your neighbors, your community. It can come from anywhere. And if you're not listening, then you're not. That's my job, is to go in and listen to the baby cry and have to decipher what those needs are so I can meet them and exceed those expectations. And then that's how we'll build something special that will be there, for the next 30 plus years, because I have a long-term lease. I put everything into the build out. Now that's the metaphorical like difference, or the difference that is my own personal difference. But the other difference is that besides it being a community, we don't have a bar you sit down at, right? We have a full bar, but you don't sit at a bar. It's a service bar. You kind of look at it, and then it's a counter where you pick up your pizzas or you get your slices. And then if you're sitting for full service, the menu's the same. The cocktail menu's the same. We have a great mixologist that we work with who's incredible, who's so talented that she's contractually obligated in other things that I can't even mention her name. But fortunately, she continues to work with us on developing an incredible cocktail program that tells our story. Cool. That's connected to New York, that's connected to Italy, that's connected to pizza, that makes sense in a harmonious, because a lot of places you go to, you're going to see the somms or the beverage director's ego all over the thing, and it just doesn't connect with the food or the chef. They're just on different pages. Here, we have a harmonious connection between the food and beverage. They're meant to be enjoyed together as one, and it's a beautiful beverage program. It's so underrated. It could be nationally ranked if we pushed it out. Like, it's really, really great. You know, we have... we use the best cocktails. We have draft cocktails that are high end. Like we just did a deal with Tito's. We have a whole line of Tito's Bloody Marys. Tito's is the exclusive supplier of our vodka sauce. And we also did a deal with Casamigos Tequila, which it's like unbelievable. Like we have Cadillac margaritas, Casamigos Blanco and Grand Marnier on draft in a margarita. And it's great. And we do it for happy hour for half price.
Nice.
So it's wonderful. And that being said, I stopped drinking. So
you're like, here I am talking about tequila on draft, but
you got mocktails?
We have incredible mocktails.
Okay.
Our GM is also sober. Shout out to Leah Andrews. She's the best GM in the world.
Cool.
She's our true dead mother and our fairy godmother. And
that's cool.
She's a queen and a princess at the same time. She's the best. All right. And she takes care of us. And she's sober and has inspired us to create this wonderful, I don't know if we use the term mocktail. I think it's, I was told it's frowned upon.
Sure.
But it's a NA beverage list, and it's a wonderful thing, and it's a big deal in our community. Like, there's a lot of sober people that are still going out to bars and drinking. Number one, the margins are amazing, and as a business owner, you want that. But number two, like, you're meeting the needs. Like, people that are sober or just choose not to drink, like, I'll have a drink for a birthday or a celebration or a glass of wine here and there, but I don't keep liquor in the house anymore. Like, I used to have a whole bar in my house. I don't keep, like, I got rid of all that stuff. I gave it away. I don't drink, I don't go home and need to have a wine or a whiskey. I'll go home and have I've been juicing a lot. Like, I get a bunch of greens, like kale, parsley, and all the greens, and I juice some pineapples and all that. I'm trying to get healthy, and I've been working out almost every day and just really want to have a sound mind, sound body, and take, just on a wellness path at this point in my life. But it's great that we could have the option to do that without feeling like I didn't have to get in a really bad car accident for that to happen. I didn't have to end someone's life accidentally behind the wheel of a car for that to happen. I didn't have to have a tragedy or me make a huge mistake while I was drunk or do something really bad for me to say, I just said, hey, I want to put things in my body that make me proud and are gonna, give me longevity and make me think more clearly and be a better dad and be a better, partner and be a better, leader in my business and build a better culture. And I just chose that. But yeah, every July 4th, I'm getting drunk with the team.
I can't wait to see your next tattoo.
Oh my
God.
If you ever need a DJ for that, man, let me know. I got you.
Okay.
There's already somebody from New York. I want to.
Are you coming this year?
Yeah.
I'm coming. I'll be there. I'll eat all your pizza.
You promise?
Yeah, I promise.
Right.
This is a pinky promise.
Because this pinky's messed up, but that's a pizza injury.
Okay.
My daughter's pinky promise. She's like 2 turning 3, and she's like pinky promise all the time. Pinky promise.
It's interesting because as I spent a lot more time in the last year and a half really shifting a lot of my work and energy over into the restaurant world because I'm doing the system and all that stuff with Mike back in Oklahoma, but I really had to find my voice in that because I was crossing over from weddings.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of identity that comes with me being in the military space for entrepreneurship and being in weddings.
Right.
And then it's like, wait, you're doing restaurant stuff too? And I had to come up with my own pitch, if you will, but really, what are my belief systems under what really helps a good restaurant that's trying to make an impact or even trying to make money, right? And I came up with these 3 lines. There's 3 lines that really matter, and you fill all of them. Number 1, you have to have good food. Mm-hmm. Good food, good experience is 1 line. It's a line of people that are lined up outside of your restaurant that can't wait to eat your food. That's common sense, but most people think that's the only line that matters. You have a line of people, whether you realize it or not, especially after this, if you don't already, you have a line of people that cannot wait to work for you because of what you're creating. And that's very important because, and I want to give you credit to this, and I sincerely mean this, Vincent, is that you are, you're a little bit older than me. I'm 44. But we come from the generation where we can just as easily carry on that same thing that was beat into us. Yeah. Is that it's do what I say, not what I do, and treat people like that. It just
doesn't work.
It doesn't. But some people still believe that it does. But because we've chosen to now pass down to embrace our team, like I haven't even told you this. One of my biggest mentors of the person I go to when it comes to talking about leadership and team is a guy, Lee Cockrell. Lee's a good friend of mine. He was the VP of operations for Disney for 15 years. He wrote the principles of leadership at Disney.
Oh, wow.
He's a phenomenal guy. I'd love to intro you to him.
Yeah.
He's going to be hosting some workshops out here. But he's the guy that I go to. He's a veteran, but he also knows how to treat people, and he believes that you can treat people the best in the world. They're still only going to be able to do about 80% of what you're capable of. Mm-hmm. But it's better to have more of those people than it is people that are looking to stab you in the back. So that line of people that can't wait to work for you, you have that. The fun one, and this isn't for all restaurants, not all restaurants are built for this, but this is one of the things that you and I talked about, is a secret line out the back door that does massive catering that can pay your bills.
Yeah.
And I know that that's a little bit of a challenge with the downtown because you're so busy and you only have so much oven space, but that's something that you have a lot more capability for out south. Is that right?
Yeah, in Henderson is a much bigger kitchen, so we do have the ability to get out catering. Just the layout is much more user-friendly, like a van can pull up right to the kitchen door. Yeah. What I've learned is that being a great restaurateur and being a great caterer are 2 different things. In fact, if you looked at the best catering out there, they're catering companies that are not in the restaurant business.
Yeah.
Restaurants that cater do a shitty job.
Yeah.
It's shitty food, good logistics. That's why they're a catering company, not a business.
Right.
Exactly.
But logistics is so important of catering. It's a different animal. It's the pricing's different, and how you treat a lead, literally lead generation. And lead conversion is huge in catering. Catering sales is that's the rainmaker in that business, right? You need someone generating leads all the time. You got to be out there going after pitching business, and unless you're doing it as an owner, that's my job as the owner to go do that, and I'm not great at that. And I can learn it, and
you can pitch in an Uber, no problem. But
well, right. If I can raise money to hey, give me $500,000 to go build a restaurant, then shouldn't I be able to get a catering deal done? But I haven't put enough time and energy into it because, number one, before 3.5 months ago, we didn't have the ability to execute. But now that we do, that's one of my goals for this year is to go after all the medical offices, all the hospitals, all the businesses that are surrounding in the Henderson area. There's enough business just within a 2 mile radius of 835 Seven Hills Drive, let alone the homes that are there. But there's a lot of great businesses out there. There's and it's a booming area. I just went over to Chicken and Pickle. The pickleball place over there, unbelievable place.
I have a gift card to there. Maybe I'll go there. I'll be at your place on Sunday.
I've never played pickleball. You want to play?
I have never played either.
Oh, wait.
I have gift cards. We'll go.
I'll go eat some chicken. I don't know if I'm going to pickle. I might just, okay. I'll eat a pickle. I don't know if I'm
going to make a fool of ourselves.
I just think, sorry pickleballers out there.
We're just going to have fun.
Play tennis, bro.
That's exactly what I said.
Come on, man.
I got a tennis coach 2 years ago.
Yo, play
His
tennis.
name is Marty. And he was like, why are you doing tennis? I was like, because I'm going to kick ass when I get to pickleball.
I was in LA with some of my friends, and there was these pickleballers out on the tennis court, and real tennis players showed up, and I thought they were going to get their asses. I thought the pickleballers was gonna get bum rushed. It was like it turned ghetto real quick.
That's the
You guys ever
streets in
see-
us. That's the streets in us,
Did you ever
though.
see the Will Smith movie where he played like Venus Williams' his father?
Yeah.
Like it was a tennis court in the hood?
Yeah.
That's what this turned into. They rolled up like, yo, why are you on our court? You're not even real tennis players.
yeah.
It was like,
They're about to rumble.
The pickleballers were about to get jumped. And it was like, yo, when I saw that, I was like, all right, I'm not playing pickleball. I'm just playing real tennis. Because think about, sorry to all the pickleballers. I know you think you're cool and I know you got your little thing. And
It's cute.
It's the outfit. It's kind of cute. But play tennis.
Yeah.
Pickleball?
Yeah.
All right. Pickleball is the new sushi burrito. It's going to be done in like a year.
Oh my God! Thank you.
You remember
Somebody
Shots
finally
fired.
said it.
Shots
Sushi
fired.
burrito
We
is
have
like-
Someone finally said it.
Everybody was like, yo, I'm opening a sushi burrito place. Now they're closed and lost all their money.
We have shots fired.
Who's
shots
open?
fired.
What sushi burrito place is still open?
True.
None of them.
True.
Yep.
There was one on every corner.
So I did not tell you this before. I actually have.
There's a lot of things you haven't told us, Dave. What's
Yeah,
going
I know.
on?
Well, I haven't told
He's
you this
old now.
before.
He's old now.
This is a manifesting podcast. When I say that, like you talked about who, spoke it into existence.
I learned a lot about that. I've been
This is
doing a lot
just
of it.
scratching the surface because you mentioned these different places. Who's that miracle client or team or business that you would love to have the opportunity to cater for at some point? Because I say that like we're friends with Christina, right? In the Women in Pizza.
Sure.
Like she's right across the street from UFC and like she's been in that world. She's always serving that world and she's getting closer and closer and she's done it in some capacity. But is there anybody in Las Vegas that you would love the ability to get some pizza in front of? And that could be from a catering perspective or even just like, is it Mike Tyson? You trying to throw a pie at Mike Tyson?
No. We've served several celebrities.
Cool.
None that I can mention by name, but
Sure.
Eminem, Clooney, Mark Wahlberg. Not by name, just saying some other celebrities have come in.
It rhymes with Mark Wahlberg.
Nah, we've got some people that come in. I know Joe Rogan. He's a podcast guy. You might have heard of him. He's been through good pie.
no,
He even
tell me
mentioned us.
more.
People
We
say
were
that I
mentioned
look
on
like Joe Rogan, but I actually say he looks like me.
I mean,
I'm just kidding.
No,
We couldn't
I can
afford
see
the
it.
real Joe Rogan,
No,
so
you
we
might
got a
have to get
knockoff. We got a
different light. You
knockoff.
might have to shift that. No, but Joe's great.
Hey, Greg, can you
But he's
bring the
eating good
mushrooms
pie.
out?
We got the
mushrooms?
knockoff
We
version.
got the mushrooms.
Oh, wow.
I'm kidding.
We
I'm
got
totally
him?
kidding. I'm just kidding.
Are we going to microdose? Because I don't do that.
Yeah, I'm totally good.
I don't do that on camera. No, I
I'm
don't
just
do that.
kidding. I'm kidding.
No, but the fact is that, I went through a time where I was searching for different manifestation methods. I started reading books. I read an amazing book by Ryan Holiday called Ego is the Enemy.
Love
You got
Ryan.
it? You read that?
I
Did you
fall
read
asleep
it?
to it at night.
Did you read it? Yeah, it's a great book. I read that about a couple months ago. And I've been getting involved in different but for me, like manifesting, like the new and improved manifesting for me is praying. And I'm getting closer and closer to Jesus and becoming a Christian. I've never been really super religious person. My son Justin and his partner Stephanie have gotten me involved in going with them on Sundays to Canyon Ridge Christian Church up on Lone Mountain and Jones, and I go every week, and I'm getting more and more involved. I really feel like there's a lot of different areas in my life where God's pulling me closer.
Cool.
And I've prayed, and I think that's a great question for everybody to ask themselves. Like whatever God you believe in, or whoever you look up to, or whatever you believe is real, what is the difference between praying and manifesting? And what's the difference between God and the I'm putting it out in the universe. What is it? The universe? Is it God? Is it what's going on out there? And there's a series going through the church right now. It's a friendship series, and it's really about the friendships that you have or don't have, or the way that you've allowed yourself to be a friend to God first, and Him a friend to you through Jesus. And I don't want to get too deep into it because I'm not like some people are like anti-religion, and I used to feel the same way. But what I found is that when you go to a place that has a set of values that match your values, all of a sudden it's easy for you to kind of start getting more curious and getting closer to understanding what it is. And I think that the catering opportunities that I'm really looking for are going to be through the church. Because you're feeding people in a different way that are going to consume the food differently. And I think that there's a lot of catering through the church, not just as a business, because I'm probably not even going to make money. I'll maybe donating some of the proceeds back to the church, or I'd love to build the catering business up to the point where I can donate a percentage of all the catering proceeds back to the church as a company. But I really want to, I've never believed in quantity over quality. And I found a way to scale the business and grow it to the quality's actually getting better as we grow, which is usually the opposite in most businesses like ours. And so I'm always going to be quality driven. And when you do large scale catering, yes, you can make money, but at what cost? And so I need to figure out people are out there trying to go after every piece of catering business they can, or getting this big piece of catering business. Yeah. What I want to do is find the right catering partners that are going to be that hit us at the sweet spot of volume, where it's manageable, we can maintain quality standards, and we can do it on a regular basis. Yeah. And with the church gatherings, that checks those boxes for us.
I love that.
And so I'm looking to, and it's also healing for me spiritually, because I have 2 grandkids now. Like, I'm a granddad, and when you become a grandparent, you feel this need. I don't know about other grandparents, but I have felt this need to now become the spiritual leader of my family. And in order to do that, I have to surround myself with people who are the spiritual leaders of their families. Yep. And so that's what I've been doing. And it's changing me. And it's just a beautiful transformation. And I'm really just, I'm proud of myself. And it's coming from a good place of accomplishment, not just a false sense of... I've been proud of myself before, but in a different way.
Yeah,
That's pride.
ego. Yeah,
Yes.
pride
Pride
and ego,
is, Pride
Different.
and proud is different, yeah.
And I'm meeting with them on Thursday.
Cool.
We're gonna open this dialogue and see how we could just work better together and become partners. And I'm gonna use that as a model to approach some other churches. I've already met with the lead pastor of church in Henderson, and we want to feed people through the church.
That's awesome. I'm going to be there on Sunday after church.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Do you go to church?
City Lights, though.
Oh, good.
Even though it's really far from
Yeah,
from
it's
me.
really far from.
I want to feed.
I go to the crossing. I go to the crossing. I go crossing
We'll
Midtown.
check out
so not
different
too far.
churches
There's some
together.
amazing churches.
If you're willing to cheat on your church,
It's not even encouraging. It's not even cheating.
Yeah.
There's this whole big.
I've been sampling. I go to different places. How does it make me feel? Am I spiritually connected?
Can
here?
I ask a question then?
Yeah.
How does your church, or how do you feel about women teaching in the church?
Like spiritual teaching?
Women pastors, women leading sermons, women leading service. Is that a thing? Because it became a topic recently that some people were, and we touched upon it. I'm just curious about.
I think it's taboo because it's not something that's been done a lot before, because I am also not a Christian. I'm just spiritually open.
Sure.
I was raised as a Buddhist.
Okay.
So for me, spirituality is about connecting to oneself through other means, through other vessels, because we are just expanding our vessel to receive, to be bigger, to be more abundant, to flow into other people. So the church I go to doesn't really matter. It's the words that are fed to me that day and how it makes me resonate and how it sits with me, how it, like, I call it cutting, right? Like cows cud. I chew on it for a while, spit it back up, chew it again. Like, how does it really make an impact on me?
I love that.
It could be 4 words, it could be a sentence, it could be 7 words. It's whatever that's actually going to reflect on how I choose to show up for other people. Because there's a lot of people you talk to that reads books after books after books after audiobooks, but none of those words really change them because they haven't applied a single thing in there. So that for me, it's how I choose to lead my life in terms of choose something, let it change you, let it, kind of like you, right? Like hearing your story on transformation and you leaving good to become great. And sometimes you have to make that sacrifice, but only you will know that that's the kind of person it takes, because the person that got you to level 1 isn't the same person right now that's going to get you to level 10. And people can't let that go.
so much. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we actually talked about this. This came up the other night. Like one of my mentors, Dave Meltzer, he talks about base camps. There's like level 1 all the way to level 10. And he goes, the thing is every next level wants you to be at the table. It's just sometimes you can't, you can come to our table, but you can't wear that jacket. And it's not your jacket. It's the metaphor of sometimes the jacket is the thing that we stay comfortable in.
Right.
Yeah, it's an identity
And-
that people can't shed because they don't
Exactly.
allow themselves to lean into resistance to become a different
Yeah.
person. New level, new devil. That's what I say it. But usually the devil, it's the person that's unwilling to look in the mirror and see what kind of fight that they have to go through to become that next level.
It's so important that you invest in development and growth as it just, and there's so many different just books or podcasts or audio books or different things that you can do to just get better. But you do need to take a look at what your behavior, where it's coming from and how to, like, I was talking to someone recently about therapy, and I think that when you go to the gym, you work out. Like some people are like, I'm always going to work out, right? I'm always going to want to be fit. I'm always going to want to get my body, like take care of my body, right? And stretch and yoga and Pilates and all the wellness things for your body. That's great.
Maybe not Pilates.
Well,
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, not Pilates,
Just
but
kidding.
in general, I'm just saying it's popular.
Yeah.
Go to a Pilates thing.
Yeah.
You can't get in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, especially you,
Yeah.
but I can't get in either.
Especially you.
But no, just saying, like you can't. Meaning, no one. They're all booked.
Yeah. They are. They are,
Yeah. So anyway, the point I'm trying to make is that I look at therapy as that mental workout, that workout for your mind. And there's people that are connected to wellness, and yes, by exercising, it does give you some great mental health benefits, but you need to exercise your mind and your thoughts. I started journaling.
Yeah.
A girlfriend that I've been kind of dating for Christmas gave me a journal,
Cool.
and I never really write. I've journaled. Like,
Is it a prompt journal?
no, it's a handwritten. It's
okay,
a
cool.
leather-bound
Very
book.
cool.
You got to
Nice.
write with your hand.
Nice.
And, when I'm writing with my hand, which I rarely do, it slows me down. And it brings me back to a time in my life when I was writing with my hands.
Yeah.
And journaling by hand is amazing.
Yeah.
And I wrote down a bunch of things in early January. Not like New Year's resolutions, but just things. Just things that were on my mind.
Yeah.
And you get them off your mind by putting them down on paper.
Yeah.
And now you can revisit and look at them.
Yeah.
And I went back just a month later and I looked at the things I wrote down. It was like January 7th or 8th. And there were 7 things I wrote down and 4 of them already came true. And I didn't even try.
Yeah.
It wasn't a goal I was working on. It was just something that I was thinking about that I wrote down.
Yep.
So you want to talk about manifesting, like
Yeah.
I didn't pray on it. I didn't manifest it. All I did was write it down and it just happened. Did it though?
Yeah.
You recalibrated your actions to become the person that
Maybe,
it takes.
maybe subconsciously I was chasing after that effortlessly without really being aware.
Most
or
people
maybe,
operate 95% subconscious. So
Right. So crazy thing about journaling, 4 out of 7 without. All I did was write it down. I
you
didn't
became aware of it.
very much aware that I put it on paper, and I've never really been like I've been a person who like, oh, let's write this down or write a business plan or that type of thing. But when it comes to personal,
Yeah.
I'm not that guy that writes stuff down. But
There's
I'm gonna become that person.
A funny thing happened this weekend. I was over at Prince Street Pizza.
Oh, you were?
Yeah, I was.
Sorry.
I was. It was proximity.
If you guys
okay. It
was
are
proximity.
listening, can you hear the eye roll?
Proximity. but
No, they're
here's
just,
a beautiful thing that
that's a
happened.
whole-
The pizza boxes were stacked up.
Yeah.
And it says on one side delivering, the other side happiness.
Yeah.
That's Tony Hsieh's book.
Yeah, Tony's book.
And when they were stacked a certain way, I saw it. I took a picture. I sent it to this girl who's an angel in my life, Ariel. She's been on the show. We talk about so many things, religion, business, all of it. And I sent her a picture of that. And I said, because I had told her the story about, me coming here because of that. I sent it. She goes, I'm listening to that book right now.
Oh, good.
And I go, what's
Great
your
book.
I go, what's your biggest takeaway? And she goes, when the woman comes to him at the party and she said to him, envision, believe, and create your own universe, and the universe will form around you. She goes, do you remember that? And I go, yeah. I cried a little bit because I was like,
wow.
I wrote that down on a desktop, a picture of Zappos on my desktop in 2013, and that's why I'm here.
Amazing.
So it's like the power of that, of writing it down,
Sure.
and words matter. So welcome to level 1. Welcome to the show.
Level 2.
We'll have you back 400 times, my
I love
friend.
everything you just said, except it was at Prince Street
I know.
Pizza. I love every pizzeria in Vegas, but Prince Street is not a Vegas
We can
pizzeria.
roast Dave on Sunday when
So-
I
They're not
check.
a Vegas pizzeria. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I
They're
know,
not.
I know.
Shout
can
out to
talk
Station
mad shit on-
Casinos
on that-
for not putting a fantastic local pizzeria in there and selling out. Shout out to those guys. You're doing a great job, Station.
Ba-dum-bum-bum.
Prediction: Prince Street won't be in business.
true.
It just
And-
won't.
It's also the
That's
feng shui,
definitely
right?
something we
There.
have to talk
the
about
feng
in-
shui where you like order at the end and like you have to
No,
go
the
back
layout's
into the line.
fine.
Yeah.
It's just
yeah.
listen. The Vegas pizza consumer is changing. Okay, it used to be fast and cheap was good.
Yeah.
Now it's
Yeah.
the opposite.
Yeah.
It's got to be fast and good and not cheap.
Yeah.
And I'm just telling you, Prince Street, whatever they think they are, they don't have a dough process that's manageable.
Yeah.
Their dough is like not really digestible. I don't want to criticize anybody, but I know what I'm talking about when it comes to dough.
Yeah.
The dough's not fermented properly. I know people that work there. They're selling dough that's like maybe 4 or 5 hours old.
Wow.
Because
Yeah.
they're just
So
pumping
the
out.
gluten's
that, yeah.
expanding in your stomach, and
It's try eating a bag of flour.
Yeah.
See how your body reacts. It's horrible what they're
Yeah.
doing. Sorry, but I gotta
apologize.
keep it real.
Shots fired.
Prince Street
Shots
Pizza will
fired.
not be at the Vegas Pizza Festival this
Yeah,
year.
I got
They're
you.
not a Vegas
Love it.
pizzeria.
Love it.
They're just a franchise, and it's okay, but it's
We would love
disappointing
you.
because a great pizzeria is opening up nearby in that area, and it's at the Bend, which is a great project that's being
Sure.
done
Yeah.
by Jay Dapper
Who's
and his
open there?
crew. Sliceateria by Metro Pizza.
Dope.
Metro's new slice shop is
Dope.
going to be opening there.
Very cool.
And Mothership Coffee Roasters is there. Dinette, the diner that won
Yep.
a competition.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
They're
on
opening
Durango.
on-
I went to
yeah,
that
it's-
mothership.
Wani.
It's on Sunset.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wani.
Because
Right?
they're trying to just have just local shops right there, right?
It's amazing.
I
They-
went there for that
Cool.
reason.
They've done a great job of curating wonderful. They've got a ramen bar that just opened that's going to be fantastic.
Awesome.
And my friend, Makeshift Union, my friend Larry, they opened up on California. They're going to be on the second level.
Field trip.
Let me just tell you, when Metro opens, Prince Street's in trouble.
Okay.
Sorry.
Cool.
Because that is the properly fermented dough that's like good
Yeah.
for your body.
Yeah, I love it.
That's why everybody's getting celiac and gluten free.
Yeah.
If you want to have celiac and have your body reject gluten,
Yeah.
keep eating Prince Street pizza.
I love it.
Well, thank you for that. That's the
Yeah.
best way we could end it because that speaks close to my heart, and that's how we go to part 2.
And yeah, and
Sorry.
just so
Stations is never doing a deal with me now. Sorry, guys.
so where can people find you? Where do people connect? And how can
After
people?
I said that, I don't want anyone to ever find me. They're looking
We'll
for
put
me
his
now.
home address in the
They're
show
coming
notes.
for me now. No, listen, I got to keep it real as a pizza guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I got to keep it real.
Yep.
And if they were doing things right, I would give them all praise.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But they're not, and so
We're after the truth.
they're
That's
gonna
all right.
go.
Well, if
Nothing
we
but
create
the
an
truth.
East Coast West Coast war, we just sell more
I'm gonna-
records, right?
As Drew from Unlocked would say, I'm gonna clown it. If they're clowns, they're getting clowned.
Yeah.
So where can they find me?
Yeah.
My email is pizza@goodpie.com, at Instagram, goodpie, at goodpielv, www.goodpie.com,
There it is.
the website that
Pretty
we bought.
simple, cross,
so
right?
easy, just Google Good Pie. You'll see it. We're at 835 Seven Hills Drive in Henderson, right off Horizon Ridge and just off St. Rose Parkway there.
Mm-hmm.
That's the most fun place.
Yeah.
And then
gotta
the
check
Arts
it out.
District, there's usually a long wait on the weekends.
Yeah.
Arts District, if you want to get a seat, try to go early on maybe Wednesday,
Yeah.
maybe Tuesday.
Yep. I get so much work done there. I'll just go.
Yeah.
I send you a picture every time I come. I just sit right
yeah,
there.
You can get a happy hour's great, 4 to 6. They got a great happy hour. And not everybody knows this, but I'll give you guys a scoop. Every Tuesday, right? Because today's Tuesday. Is it? It's Tuesday.
Today
Yes.
is.
Today's Tuesday.
I was like, is it? I questioned my own
I know,
reality
what
for
day
a
are we in?
second.
It's Tuesday. We started a thing called Teeny Tuesday.
Okay.
And every Tuesday, martinis are $9 at both locations. We have an entire martini menu. It's $9. They're great.
Teeny Tuesdays.
Teeny
I like
Tuesday.
it.
So,
I like
it's
it.
all day every Tuesday. And we got a great, for $59, we feed the whole family every Wednesday in Henderson. It's the family feast. You get pizza, you get a pasta, you get a salad, and something for the kids, and a dessert, and all the things.
Or just me on a regular Tuesday.
Yeah, you on a regular night. By the way, you could do that. You could do that. It's dine-in only.
Stretchy pants day.
Good pie is for the children.
Cool.
You know, we have a
Awesome.
wall there in Henderson where the kids can color their pizza things, and we put them on the wall and we hang them up. And
so
of course, the grandma wall is still growing in Henderson, which we
Love it.
love. So it's been a wonderful experience being in the community of Henderson. We've been welcomed, and we love Henderson so much. So thank you.
I love it. Well, I'm coming by, my friend. Thanks so much for coming on the show
My
today.
pleasure.
I
Thanks for
appreciate
having
you.
me. Appreciate you.
Love this
Sincerely.
conversation.
Thank you.
I didn't know what kind of
We
off-rail
laughed,
shit
we
we were
cried,
gonna go.
we did
Oh
it
wait,
all.
we gotta hit the Air 5
Oh, I got like that.
Air 5?
freeze frame.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
Why?
All right, good.
Huh? Because we can freeze frame.
I'll
It's
give you
80s
one of
music.
these. One of these.
One of these.
Hey, don't be eating fugazi pizza. Get the
Yeah.
real fermented dough.
In the right
Well,
light, you look like
guys.
Tony Danza.
Tony Danza.
Love it. That's it for us. You know how to get in touch with me and Dave. Slide into our DMs. Please go get some good pizza with us. Holler at us. Please find him. We can roast each other, right?
Yeah, roast me. Roast me. Yo, Tony Danza is like 97
We're
years old.
going to have
I
a
know.
Vincent roast day.
And the idea of Pursue Vegas was to really highlight the local people that really make Vegas Vegas.
I love that aspect of how these visionaries are actually bringing people together.
When we hit record, our responsibility is to connect the people of our city so we can show the world who we really are.